Have you ever held your tongue thinking it would make things better, only to realize later on you'd made a huge mistake, possibly one of the biggest mistakes in your life? I did just that. I stayed silent, and it nearly cost me everything: my dream, my faith, my voice. I thought it was the wise thing to do, keeping the peace and simply avoiding the storm. Have you been there? Sometimes it ends up burying you. All those good intentions. I learned the hard and painful way. And I open with Galatians 1:10, which says, obviously, I'm not trying to win approval of man, but of God. For decades, I avoided conflict. For about the past 15 years. Yeah, when I started writing a book, I thought it was the right thing to do. I apologize. I've got a bit of a cold. I'm actually sweating, and I've got a sore throat. But I need to get this done. This has been a difficult episode to record. It's the first one I've actually re-recorded it multiple times because I just wasn't satisfied. I think it's that important. And this topic affected my life so greatly and those around me. And I know that many of you, the same thing I know it's touched you in some way. An unknown, unseen, unfelt killer. Silence. I was trying to protect my reputation, my friendships, my dreams, my relationships. And one of the things I would do, tell me if you've done this. I know people do this, and I'm not alone. I would go onto social media, and keeping in mind that politics and faith were off the table for me, I thought it would harm me, harm my book, harm my movie. That was my thinking. So I would go onto Facebook or Instagram or wherever. I would see a post, and maybe it was something political, maybe it was something, whatever, a little, not even necessarily controversial, but I would type out this elegant response in my comment, extremely thought out, documented if need be, only to hit the delete button and delete the entire response because I was so afraid how people would react. I even felt that way about some sports pages I follow for the Sooners and the Bruins, whose fan pages I follow. I controlled my family posts. When Austin and Teresa would say something or post something or would comment on something, I would sometimes dial home frantically, Teresa, take that post down that Austin put up. He's got to take that down right now. Do it, hurry up before anyone sees it. I didn't think I was wrong in doing that. But maybe I wasn't right either. See, Austin, he lives with no filter. Our son, Richard Austin LeRette, the kid has no filter on him. None whatsoever. Blatantly honest. He can't lie. Painfully blunt. In fact, we were at dinner once. This was regarding the movie, and we were with some executives from the studio, actually. And out of the blue, Austin says, he looks over at the two, because it was just me and Austin with them. And he looks over and he says, "Are you guys all Christians? Do you believe in God?" And my antenna just perked up. And I looked over. And here's an interesting thing, because the production company for the Unbreakable Boy is Kingdom Story Company. Kingdom Story Company is a faith-centered production company. And for many of you who may not know, the production company is essentially who makes the movie. They're the ones who make it, whereas the studio is who finances it, who distributes it, and writes the checks. Well, Kingdom is a faith-based entity, whereas I would call Lionsgate, the studio, a more of a secular entity. And so when he said this, my antenna went up. I looked over and I looked at the couple folks that he was directing that question to. And they had no emotion on their face, good or bad or indifferent. And they didn't answer him. They didn't. It wasn't like we were waiting and they were going to come up with a response. They just simply, I guess, ignored his question. And I made some silly platitude, I'm sure. Oh, come on, calm down. It's just blah, blah, blah. But here's the deal. I was not trying. I thought I was trying to protect Austin. But I wasn't. He's as sincere as can be in his question. He was truly interested because he loves all people and thinks everyone should be a child of God. And I was only trying to protect me. I know that's what it was. He turned into the fire, as he did so many times, as I turned my back to it, thinking that protection was what I needed, what we needed. Only to realize that more unfiltered honesty is probably what the world needs right now. It's not only silence like mine, though. Mine was a silence that I essentially kept to myself, other than censoring my loved ones. And I just rolled with it, thinking I was right. But there's another kind of silence. You see, when you make a movie, there's lots and lots of variables. There's so many things that go into it. And we had our premiere in New York City in February of this year. I do not want to get into the weeds, but there was an element of the contingent that did not partake. They were silent. They went radio silence totally. In fact, they'd scrub their social media accounts of all things to do with the Unbreakable Boy. Everything. Not a cent. And let me tell you, though, too, this that I'm referring to had millions of followers in social media. This was an overt action based on, I don't exactly know, but I think I do. Because it was almost like the opposite of my silence. Maybe it was overt versus covert, because maybe differences of opinions, extreme differences of opinions among folks in the production of The Unbreakable Boy. It was a hard lesson. It was a hard lesson for me because we got no answers. And it was an issue, and it came up. It was an illusion, though. This all was an illusion of protection. And, I thought for a long time that this particular situation, hurt the movie, hurt me, hurt my family. But in my efforts to protect my family and the story, and with this happening, I really believe that this silence hurt that particular individual. I softened my voice. I avoided posts, begged Tracy and Austin to stay quiet, thinking I was shielding us. And in the end, I was protecting people and systems that didn't really care about protecting me. Whether I did or did not stay silent did not matter an iota. But in my mind, I thought that this white flag apologist approach of silence was the way to go. And only much later on would only realize how wrong I was. I silenced myself when nobody asked me to. I took it upon myself to do that. I thought I was keeping control with all this. See, that's the thing, though. I thought that me keeping my hand on it and doing these things, these actions or inactions, would protect my dream. And the crazy thing about it, though, my dream did not need silence at all. My dream did not need me keeping people from saying whatever. It needed authenticity. It needed faith. It needed conviction. As I sat by and kept my mouth shut. Their silence, I think, spoke louder than my silence. Mine was self-inflicted. Mine came from fear and an illusion of protection. I thought I was doing the right thing. This person's was intentional, came from choice. And it's that kind of silence that hurts the most. And I'm still angry about it. I work on that every day, though. But it's okay because I accept that today and I'm beyond it. And I'm trying to be more like Austin with my unfiltered approach, my newly found unfiltered approach. And I'm trying. But for years, I'd hid. And I'm tired of that. I think that, like Austin, I want to declare who I am. No more soft. For years, I was soft around the edges. I stayed neutral. But I am a Christian, a proud, unabashed Christian wanting to go boldly into the fire. Like Austin with no filters. I am a conservative. Absolutely. I could never say that. I kept myself from saying both of those things for the last 15 years, and I'm done with it. I am a Christian. I'm a man of faith, and it's what drives me, and I try to put at the forefront, at the beginning of everything, every choice, every decision that I make. My faith, my family, my hard work, my conviction. Those were things I was silent about all along. And now I can look back, though, in hindsight and all that, and I'm just like, wow, I can't believe I just kept myself in that. I kept myself in that groove. But I was pretending. It was just pretending the entire time. See, the world doesn't need filtered voices. None whatsoever. I need to take everything that I'm doing now beyond the Unbreakable Boy and here on the Green Pants podcast and take it to the world instead with conviction, loudly. No more silence. I was scared what people would think. Little Scott LeRette was scared of what people would think if I'd said something about my faith, if I said something about who I voted for or how I felt about a certain issue. I was terrified because if I knew if I did that, half of my friends would probably, I don't know what they'd do. Unfriend me? Say something bad back to me? How could you do that? How on earth could you feel that way? But that's a whole other episode right there. But silence doesn't keep you strong. It keeps you small. And that's what I felt like as I came out of this. But I'm done protecting comfort. Absolutely. I always sign my books. If I autograph a book a lot, I always sign it with Live Like Oz. Live like Oz. A-U-Z. And that's what I feel like. I need to protect purpose instead of silence. Courage means choosing conviction over comfort. Absolutely. All day, every day. And freedom, it comes from truth, not silence. And I think that kind of, I wasn't free in what I was doing although thinking that I was being, really smart. For 20 years, though, almost 20 years, that's what I did. But now I have a microphone. I know I'm just starting. I'm at the beginning of this. And I want this to be such a platform filled with gratitude and faith and love, but also a voice that I can bring the fire head on and meet the fire head on. I'm so excited and thrilled to do that. My podcast, it's all about taking my voice back, but it's also about, I want to hear other voices. I'm going to start having people on my podcast. Absolutely. If this message resonates, please share. Absolutely. Please share this. I'm going to be diving deeper into current issues, into my faith, into politics, into anything, current events, today's world. It isn't about numbers. It's about reclaiming my voice, my truth. I know, not in the woke sense, but who I really am, not what I've tried to pretend to be with this silence. And the neat thing about it is that no one controls this platform but me. My silence enabled these other platforms, though, just to plow right ahead, and I just let them by thinking I was doing something grand in my silence. Speaking of me being scared of what people would think, that actually segues into what the next episode I will talk about. And that is, I would call it, I don't know, for lack of a better title so far, The Divide. We're at a dangerous time in America today. And whereas in the past, basic common decency and humanity, we could get along and have, I think, common issues and things that we could agree upon, even if there were major things we maybe just agree to disagree on. That's gone today. Today, your convictions and your thoughts and your feelings and your positions, people will hate you for it. So much so that people are getting hurt. People are getting killed. It's nasty, it's evil, and evil is in plain sight. I guess that's a good thing, that we can actually see it out in the open now. All you've got to do, if you've been alive the last 2 or 3 months, you know what I'm talking about. It's shown its ugly head and it's not scared. So I'm glad we can see it, as despicable as it may be. I want to take this further, though, from personal silence to this cultural silence. We got to stand up to what this garbage is and what's going on. That's the next episode. The bravest voices don't edit themselves for comfort. They speak truth and let the world adjust. I wrote that, but I want to close with a scripture from Proverbs. It's 28:1. The wicked run away when no one is chasing them, but the godly are as bold as lions. God bless.